Hello everybody and welcome to The United Stand. Hope you're all doing very well. Lots of exciting stuff to talk about tonight. None more so that Manchester United have actually played a game behind closed doors today at Old Trafford. The gold team, or the away kit, against the red kit. We can tell you who played for who, and we can tell you what the score was as well. And we'll go through the ramifications of that and what it means. But it's good to see Manchester United back in action. And as a lot of people are saying, it's 4-4. I actually tweeted out this afternoon as a joke it was 4-4. And apparently it did finish 4-4. And we know all the goal scorers, all the assists that have leaked out so far. So let's get into that as well. But let's start off with the title of the show, which is Solskjaer drops Pogba hint. I don't know whether you've seen the interview from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer that's come out in the last 24 hours. But speaking about Manchester United and momentum and focus, we've seen Marcus Rashford, or we've heard that Marcus Rashford has said that there seems to be a more of a momentum around Manchester United now than there was in those last few games when there was a lot of momentum. So obviously we've added in Pogba and Rashford. Welcome to Harrison Daniel, latest member of the United Stand Members Club. But quite interesting, I think, as we move closer to this Spurs game, which is less than 2 weeks away now, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer talking about the fitness and everything like that, and basically saying, and welcome to Jake Kerr as well, welcome back to Pogba and Rashford, but I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has dropped a hint that we may not see those players starting against Spurs. And some, even I'm not 100% sure about this, but effectively what he said is that there's some players that have been out for a long time. You can't expect them to play a full game. So you could say, well, maybe Pogba starts, maybe Rashford starts, but I think ultimately what we're looking at here is, and I didn't realise this, Spurs on the Friday night and then Sheffield United the following game. That's 6 points that if we get them, we basically... I mean, it's so difficult, isn't it? It's so exciting, but it's so difficult because if we do take 6 points on the positive spin from Spurs and Burnley are pretty much out of the race for top four. Then you're putting a lot of pressure onto Chelsea and Leicester, who've got tougher games to come later on. If you draw both those games, you give Chelsea and Leicester the opportunity to open up a bigger gap than what they've got now. If you lose both, you let Sheffield United and Spurs into that race with you and knock yourself back. So they're not... I actually think a lot of people feel that Pogba and Rashford are a great thing to come back, and they are. But I actually was thinking about this today, and I don't know what you lot think, but ultimately, would you rather we were in this situation where Pogba and Rashford are back, but everybody else has got everybody back, and you're basically starting from a standstill again? Or would you rather we'd got into that Spurs game and not had a lockdown? Now, obviously, I don't want a lockdown from a humanity point of view because loads of people wouldn't have died. But from a footballing point of view, I didn't want it either because I think we would have beat Spurs that Sunday, and I think we would have got top four. And woulda, coulda, shoulda. We'll never know. But I think we would have got top four with how we were playing without Rashford, and Pogba was nearly back anyway. So I definitely think we would have got top four. So that's the challenge that Ollie's got now. It's about getting that focus back. It's about basically forgetting. It's almost like last season, isn't it? What we did before lockdown. We've got two major players back, but we've got to hit that pedal because Spurs were there for the taking. They were there for the taking, and I think we would have took them. Now they've had 3 months off like everybody else. They've got big players back, and it becomes a much more difficult game than I think it was going to be. And I think if we lost to Spurs, and I don't know who Chelsea are playing that first weekend, but I think it's Villa. You'd expect them to win that. That gap behind Chelsea goes to 6 points after, and you played 90 minutes. So we've got to be focused, like Ollie says, and he's got to get it right. This situation, let's see what our best team can do, says Daniel Luciano, and welcome to Ben Moyle, the latest member of the United Stand Members Club. So this afternoon, and this feeds in nicely with Pogba and Rashford. So this afternoon, Manchester United played a game behind closed doors at Old Trafford. I can go through some of the players that played for each team, but there was a red team and the away team. In the away team, you've got Bruno, Fred, McTominay, Martial, Luke Shaw, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, who are first team players. In the red team, you've got Rashford, Pogba, Matic, Maguire, Williams, Greenwood, Ighalo, who are first team. So he didn't play what he hasn't picked his team that's going to play against Spurs, is what I'm going to say. Now the game finished 4-4. I'll go with the goals and assists for you in a minute, but it reportedly finished 4-4, by the way. But do you bring Pogba into that team? Do you bring Rashford into that team for the Spurs game? And I suppose it's probably a question for the sports scientists here, because we know that Bruno and Fred and McTominay and Matic had played a lot of football and were fit and were playing well in the middle of March. We know that Pogba's not played hardly any football since August. And we know that Rashford's not played any football since middle of January. Does not playing football all season, like in Pogba's case, make you any less fitter than Fred or McTominay? And I think it probably does. I think the fact that Pogba's not played any competitive football for most of the season puts him behind a Fred, a Matic and a Bruno, even though they've not played for 3 months. I think. I'm not 100% sure. Or maybe it's going to be mind games by Ollie. But what you've also got to remember is a lot of these players will need to be replaced. That's why you've got 5 substitutes out of 9 subs that you can play. You can use 5. And that obviously will be evident over the season as we see it in these final 9 games. So maybe Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is dropping a bit of a hint there to say that, look, it's unrealistic to expect these players that have been out for a long time to play 90-minute games. And maybe he is referring to Pogba and Rashford there because he's got a very big decision to make. And we'll obviously be digesting this over the next couple of weeks. But how do you pick 3 midfielders from Bruno, Matic, Fred, Pogba and McTominay? All 5 of them are going to be match fit and all 5 of them raring to go. Alan Thomas says, hey Mark, watching from America, love the channel. Do you think United will prioritise winning the Europa League like Jose did if the first few results in the league don't go our way? I don't think there will be a prioritisation, and thanks for the super chat, Alan Thomas. I don't think there will be a prioritisation because it's stop-start, isn't it? We're going to do Premier League until the end of July, and then we're going to do Europa League in August. So Jose got to a point where he had a tired squad, and he was playing Thursday night Europa League, weekend Premier League, and he had to make a choice between, if he went for both, I think he was going to burn his squad out. So he went for the Europa League and put weakened teams out in the Premier League, and it worked. Ollie can't do that. I think we're going to be playing FA Cup and Premier League between June and July, and then we'll play Europa League in August. So he's got to just keep going in the Premier League, trying to get the points, regardless of whether we lose our first 2 games back or not. But it's interesting because apart from Leicester, our hardest games of the 9 games are the first 2 games. And as we've seen in the Bundesliga, you look at Dortmund, you look at Bayern Munich, you look at Leverkusen, they didn't actually start, or any team in the Bundesliga, they didn't really start playing well until the 3rd game in. And the first 2 games, with so much gravitas attached to them and so much importance to them, they will not have the sharpness or fitness. The Spurs game is a travesty. It's an absolute travesty that our biggest game of the 9 that we've got left is that game away to Spurs, where we need to win, where I'm totally convinced we would have won. And we're going to go into that game, into the big unknown in relation to fitness, which is why today's game was so important, and any pre-season game they can get is so important. We don't want Pogba and Rashi to get injured again, says Darshan Singhvi. I don't think there will be a chance of them getting injured any more than anybody else, but they will. Everyone's going to need to be nurtured back. I don't think there is a player, and Ollie said it himself. You can't expect any player to be playing 90 minutes every single game from that first Friday to Wednesday to Saturday to Tuesday. If somebody plays 90 minutes in all 4 of those games, I'll be stunned. Whether it's Matic, Pogba, Rashford or Martial, I just don't think it can be done. They've got to be managed. Kjelt Helsland says, hi Mark, depends how good Pogba plays in training. If he's fit and blooming, he will be in the starting 11, so the training matches are vital. And Sean Turner says, I think every team is going to be a bit rusty. Start Pogba and Rashford, go with your strongest team from the start. And I think Sean's probably going to be a champion for many people there, because in this Spurs game, if you start with Pogba and Rashford and they play an hour and you're 2-0 up and you take them off, great. If you start without them and you go 2-0 down and then you've got to rely on them for the last half an hour, yeah, I think I can see the value of starting them. Welcome to Carson Badley, latest member of the United Stand Members Club. So let me tell you, right, the game between Manchester United and Manchester United today was played at Old Trafford behind closed doors. There was a red team and there was a gold team. As I told you, the gold away kit was players such as Wan-Bissaka, Dan James, Anthony Martial, Bruno Fernandes, Fred, Scott McTominay. And on the red team, you had players like Agallo, Rashford, Greenwood, Matic, Pogba, Maguire. 4-4 was the result, and these are the reported scorers and assists. So in Pogba's team, which was the red team, they scored 4 goals. Pogba got 2 assists and a goal. Rashford got 3 goals. Fosu Mensah got an assist, and Matic got an assist. So 4 goals, 1 for Pogba, 3 for Rashford. Pogba got 2 assists. On Bruno's team, Bruno got 2 assists and 2 goals. Martial got an assist and a goal. McTominay got a goal, and Mata got an assist. So straight away, if that's true, you can see that Bruno and Pogba on different teams had massive parts to play, and I'm actually quite glad. If that is the score, I'm quite glad that was the result, because I actually said everyone was going, the red team won. It's got Pogba, Rashford, Greenwood, and Ighalo, they're going to win. And I was like, I suppose it's what side of the fence you sit on. For your Pogba, I've got a Bruno. For your Rashford, I've got a Martial. For your Greenwood, I've got Scott McTominay and Fred. You know, for your Ighalo, we've got Dan James. So, and also, for your Maguire, I've got Aaron Wan-Bissaka. So I think a draw would sound about right. Even if he's obsolete, Jose is the last manager you want to face coming out of break when he has time to prepare and out to make a point, says Abernaf. Quite literally, he'll be out to make a point as well. Harrison Daniel says, hi Mark, happy to become a member. It's been a while and I've always watched. Great work. You should be proud of yourself. I can't wait to see Pogba and Bruno. And I tell you what, if those stats are correct, that Bruno and Pogba got a couple of assists each and scored goals, I can't wait to see them together. And I suppose then, you know, just to delve into that situation, I ain't going to lie. I think if now, you know, you say something in December, you don't mean it in February. You say something in February, you don't mean it in March. You say something 2 weeks ago, you change your mind 2 weeks later. Welcome to the world of football. Twitter doesn't want you to be like that. Twitter wants to go back to a tweet from 6 months ago, show you a tweet from today, and try and make out that you're a hypocrite. If you're like me, you change your footballing opinion game by game, sometimes day by day. Now the reality of Paul Pogba being back in Manchester United is becoming real. The frustration about him not signing a new contract and wanting to leave starts to dissipate. You start to think, hold on a minute, we're going to see Paul Pogba smiling in a Manchester United shirt for the final 9 games of the season, with Bruno Fernandes, this great player that's come in and changed us, with Marcus Rashford, who was on fire before his injury, with Anthony Martial, who's been brilliant as a number 9. And you think, hold on a minute, I know Fred's been great, and I know McTominay's been great, and I know Matic has been great, but let's call a spade a spade. The midfield 3 has to take Pogba and Bruno in it if they're raring to go. So who plays with those? And for me, I'm going to ask the question to you, but if it's Pogba as the box-to-box or the holder, if it's a 4-2-3-1 and Pogba's taking one of the 2 spots and Bruno's taking the 1 spot as the number 10, who plays with Pogba and Bruno in that midfield 3? And for me, Ricky's going to be very happy. I'm going to go Matic. Matic all day of the week, says George Kyle. Goldbridge loves that Bellingham, says Jake, and I do. And but there's a lot of people saying Scotty McTominay. In fact, McTominay's getting the vast amount of votes, which means you drop a Matic who changed the fortunes of the team, and a Fred. I mean, how do you drop? We're talking Matic or McTominay, and we're dropping Fred, who, if you take Wan-Bissaka out of this team, is our player of the year. So options for Ollie, and look, the options aren't that criminal because he will have to rotate. That's the engine room of the team where you need the legs and the energy. And I guarantee you, if we start Pogba, Matic and Bruno against Spurs with half an hour to go, you'll see Fred and McTominay coming on for Matic and Pogba anyway. So it's not like they're dropped. It's about using the squad. Noticed today that Sky Sports even had a story on Ighalo living the dream. Like you said, it's a United CIA level cover-up for missing out on Werner, says Dan Middleton. Well, you know what, Dan? I really do like Ighalo, but I did say that. Now that we're keeping Ighalo, the publicity will be around Ighalo to deflect from the fact that we're not buying a striker. And as I said, I really do like Ighalo, but I don't like the plan of keeping a striker to the middle of next season when next season's such an important season for us. Hey Mark, if you want to beat Spurs, give Phil Jones the number 7 shirt and start him as a striker, says David Moyes is the GOAT. I do think Jose will set up quite well against us, but I think Spurs will have the same problems as us. I think Spurs' problems are harder than ours because Bergwijn's been out, Son's been out, and Kane's been out. And they're in the same situation as Rashford and Pogba. So if Pogba and Rashford are rusty, those 3 will be rusty. And our team was playing better than their team in March. So it's going to be very interesting. And I think Jose Mourinho will be up to... I mean, you're very right. You're very right. Everybody who's saying it in the live comments and the lad who said it on the super chat, you're very right about Jose Mourinho. He got beat at Old Trafford by Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer rubbed his hand on his head. Mourinho is like an elephant; he doesn't forget. And Ole will have to, I will be very, very impressed if Manchester United go and beat Spurs. Very impressed because I don't think the ground makes any difference. I don't think it does. I don't think it's a home game for Spurs any more than it's an away game for us. But I do think that Mourinho will be very focused on this, and he'll have spent a lot of time on this game wanting to get not beat. Bruno plus Pogba comparison to duo of past or present, says Daniel Luciano. There isn't one. There isn't one. I don't think United have had a Pogba and Bruno combination. I mean, our best combinations have been like Keane and Scholes. Well, United haven't really been a combination of a three midfield. The three midfield thing has sort of been something of the last decade, really. Before that, in our great times, you'd play mainly with two midfielders. So they can make their own history, really. Please smash a like on the video if you're watching. Bryce Menezes says, "Hi Mark, what do you think of 5 subs as a new rule? Love your videos and can't wait for United stand to reach 1 million subscribers." I wouldn't want five substitutes to be the norm. I think it's just now for the next 9 games, and that's common sense because people are not getting a pre-season, so it's common sense. I wouldn't want to see 5 substitutes in next season because it would become too much like, NFL or whatever, where you're changing half your team. I don't want to see that. I think part of it is that some players have got to play 90 minutes. We're going to see the best of Martial in these last 9 games. He will flourish with Bruno and Pogba in the team, says Aaron Sweeney. Well, I agree with you. I think Martial has had to, and Rashford to a certain extent, I think they have had to live off scraps. And I think that with Pogba and Bruno, he's going to get more chances. And I think Martial, it's been said before, I think Martial is our best finisher at the club. I think Greenwood will give him a run to his money, but I think Martial is the best finisher. And I think if you give him chances, he'll score goals. So I think there's a lot of goals for United to be had there. And what we mustn't forget is that United, in the main, certainly since Christmas, have defended very well. We don't concede many goals. If we can start scoring more goals, we'll win more games comfortably. Keeping a striker into mid-season shows Ollie is one of the best managers in the world. Wake up and stop being so ignorant, says Cody. Cody, I think that's a very ignorant comment, and I would like you to adapt on it so we can all move on from the fact that we think you're a bit of an idiot. Sean Turner, I'm pretty confident that we are going to beat Spurs, and I never go into the games anymore feeling confident. The whole squad just looks happy. Look, sure. I don't think we should underestimate Spurs. I don't think we should do that. I think that would be arrogant of us. I will tell you now, this is our toughest game of the remaining 9 games we've got left, without a shadow of a doubt. I think Sheffield United on a neutral ground doesn't worry me. I think they're much harder at Bramall Lane, and we still got a draw out of them. I think Leicester City, I ain't worried about Leicester. I think this is our toughest game that we've got, Spurs. And the fact that you're confident and you think we're going to win is great, but I'm not going to underestimate them. I think any team managed by Jose Mourinho, but also any team that's managed by Jose Mourinho that actually has got some good players in it, and Spurs have, I think they're a threat. But I think we've got a better team, and I think we have to win, and I think I'll be very disappointed if we don't, even though we just need to win. I think we need to win, and I think we know we were going to win in March, and that's why it would be such a disappointment if we didn't. 5 subs, a great time to bring back Pogba, Rashi, 45 million each, says Jigo. And come on United, says Illa United. Obsessing over, here we go. Naladra says, obsessing over Pogba and Bruno points towards the lack of quality we had in this midfield. Now Ollie needs to develop his tactical side as a manager, and I think that's going to be very important. And Stephen B. Harry says, absolute rubbish. Rashford is a far better finisher. Mate, I'm not going to go down this road. You know why I'm not going to go down this road? Because I think it's idiot road. I really cannot be doing with this sort of conversation. Rashford's a better finisher than Martial. Pogba's better than Bruno. I mean, hello? We support Manchester United. Why are you pitting 2 players together? I'm telling you, Martial's a better finisher than Rashford. I don't need to hear rubbish, Rashford's a better finisher, because you come across as bitter and you come across as antagonistic. I love Marcus Rashford. I think he's a fantastic player. But from what I've seen, if they're one-on-one, I want Martial. I think he's clinical. I think he's deadly. I think he's the best finisher. But I think Rashford's fantastic. For me, it's not about, oh no, Rashford's way better than Martial, because that's not a grown-up supporting your club conversation to have, is it? Oh, Pogba's streets ahead of Bruno. I've seen people on Twitter talking about this, and I'm like, we're Manchester United. Like, I'm telling you, I think Martial's a better finisher than Rashford. I think Rashford's a better dribbler than Martial, because I think he's quicker and more direct. I think that Pogba's got a better better passing range than Bruno, but I think Bruno is a little bit more intelligent in tighter spaces. Everybody's got their strengths. I don't like pitting 2 players together and going, oh, Pogba's way better than Bruno when Bruno's on your team. It's just odd. I don't get it. I suppose we're going into the road of Pogba FC and Rashford FC and Martial FC and Bruno FC. We're Manchester United, they're all our players. Hamza Ahmed says Bruno, Pogba, Sancho, Martial, Rashford, love. And hi Mark, hope you are safe. We desperately need Jadon and most importantly don't focus on Grealish and go for Zakaria, says Satayip Arid. He is injured, Zakaria, with a bad knee injury, so we won't be signing him. Sancho, Grealish, Bellingham and Rodon is a great window, right? Says Racing Central. You were onto something and then you added in Rodon. Oh, Rodon. I thought you said Rondon. I think Rodon from Swansea is possible. I'm not a big fan. I think he's just Harry Maguire. That's all. From what I've seen of him, and look, I hold my hands up, I haven't seen loads of him. He just looks like a Harry Maguire clone. He's tall, he's decent on the ball, he's not particularly fast. How could you play those two together? You know, I like Lindelof, but we say that Maguire and Lindelof can't form a centre-back partnership. We need somebody with a bit of pace. But Twan Sebi played today, so that was good. I want to talk about Grealish, actually. And is Ollie that bad tactically, or is he waiting for the right players to play his style of football, says Anabav? Well, I spoke about this last night, Anabav, and personally, I just can't buy into that excuse. I just can't, because I've seen teams, and I said it last night, so I'm not going to dwell on it. I've seen teams in the Championship, I've seen teams in League One, and they haven't got the players, but the manager's still got the philosophy. Lampard's the prime example. At Derby, they came to Old Trafford against Mourinho and played us off the park with the philosophy that he's taken to Chelsea from day one, without the players. But he still played to his philosophy. So why does Ollie not play attacking football just because he hasn't got the signings he wants yet? Surely it makes sense to play the way you want to play and then add the players in. I think the only excuse I would give in relation to that is that he's played most of the season with Pereira and Lingard as the attacking element. And as soon as Bruno's come in, we've played a lot better. So maybe the fact that we were playing with 10 men a lot of the season with Pereira and Lingard playing in there, we would have played a lot better if we'd had a number 10. And I think that's the get out of jail for Ollie. I think maybe we were playing a style of football that could have been more pleasing on the eye, but the number 10 was so bad, we just looked so bad. But now Bruno's come in instead of Pereira and Lingard, and we look a lot better in creating chances. Although that we have still had games with Bruno where we've sat and soaked up. Like we beat Chelsea and we beat Man City, but we still sat and soaked up the pressure. Hopefully this is a sign, at least we are debating about which of our attackers are better. For a while we could only brag about Pogba or De Gea, says Neladri. Good point. And I predict Ollie will play a diamond to accommodate Bruno and Pogba, and 2 with Rashi and Tony up front. Solves the lack of right wing and 1 less centre midfielder to drop. Yeah, but you know what, Julian? If we do play a diamond, it solves a problem of not having to drop 2 midfielders, as you say, but it also causes a massive problem, because if you play 4 midfielders, Bruno, Pogba, Fred and Matic, and McTominay's on the bench, all right, you take McTominay off for Pogba off for McTominay, but who comes on for Fred? Who comes on for Matic? Who comes on for Bruno? You know, I think he's got to be brave here and play the 3, because if you play the 3 and 2 of them need to come off, you know you can bring Fred and McTominay on, quality. If you play the 4, that's 4 people to come off or come on, and you've only got 1 like McTominay. So you know what I mean? We've got 5 good midfielders: Matic, Fred, McTominay, Pogba and Bruno. If you play 4 of them, you can only bring 1 on. And then you've got 3 who might need to be replaced. And then you're back with Pogba, Lingard. So I would play the 3. I know it's disappointing for the 2 on the bench, but they will be used every game because we'll need to use them in the 5 subs. Who will you pick on the right, Dan or Greenwood, says Praffel Chandri. I'm not bothered. I'm not actually bothered. I think dependent on the game, they both can do quite well. You know, effectively, long term, you want it to be Jadon Sancho. Of course you do. But I don't mind it. I'm not bothered between James and Greenwood. I think they've both got a lot to them. I'd probably against Spurs, I'd play Dan James because he's got that little bit more experience and he's a little bit more of a winger than Greenwood. So yeah, I probably would do. But Ighalo's going to be very important as well. Ighalo will get used a lot, especially. Levitt's not ready yet, Andrew. Nowhere near. You can't chuck Levitt or Garner on at the moment. No way. Grealish or Bellingham, says Joe Crow. Bellingham for me. I mean, just on Jack Grealish, I must just mention this. Jack Grealish. A lot of people talk about Jack Grealish. And welcome to Niladri, latest member of the United Stand Members Club. And Joe and Daniel says, it looks like we're not going to get Ndidi, Zakaria or Partey. Would you rather play Matic, Fred or McTominay or sign a first team quality CDM next year? I would like to see us buy a centre defensive midfielder because I don't think Matic has got long left. I don't think Fred is a centre defensive midfielder, and I'm not convinced McTominay is. McTominay describes himself as a box-to-box. So I would like to see us buy a centre defensive midfielder because if we don't, I don't think we're ever going to go back to this one holding midfielder with two box-to-box, which I think is the way that we played best when Ollie first came in. I think he's going to stick with two holding midfielders, which I think is always going to make us defensive. Van Gaal did it. You know, he had two centre defensive midfielders sat in front of his defence, and it always makes you hard to break down, but it ultimately also makes you quite defensive. I think United play far better when we play with one holding midfielder, but I don't think Fred and McTominay long term can do that job, and obviously I don't think Matic can. This remainder of the season is like Judgment Day for Ollie, and as much as I'm Ollie out, I'm willing to see him succeed and say what you want about him, but he's a big game manager, says Adams. He's got to succeed. I think if he wants to get Sancho, he's got to get Champions League football. Is McTominay a CDM? He clearly has goals in him, says Harrison Daniel. I don't think he is. I think McTominay sees himself as a box-to-box. And he's definitely got goals in him. So I think the United's problem at the moment is we've got too many good box-to-box players. Like Fred sees himself as a box-to-box player. McTominay does. I think Pogba is. And Bruno's a more advanced one. We need a CDM. And I think that's where a Bellingham could come in. Grealish, I still just don't know. I mean, as I said, I spoke to my guy on Monday, and he was saying that United could well go for Grealish as well as keeping Pogba, and that could well happen. And I think if we did, then maybe we would be looking long term to play a diamond in midfield. The trouble with United playing a diamond in midfield is, I think United have always got to have width, and if you play a diamond like we did against Everton, and your two front men end up being like wing backs. Where's your threat down the middle? You're almost playing a false nine. I hated that. I thought against Everton that was one of the crappiest formations I've ever seen Ollie do. You've got to play with a focal point number 9. You can't have your two up front spinning out wide and nothing down the middle. And also, if you do play with a diamond, where's your width coming from? Your forwards who really are too advanced to provide the width, or your fullbacks in Shaw and Wan-Bissaka who actually just aren't Trent Alexander and Robertson. So I always want to see United playing with some natural width, and I think the natural width is Rashford and Sancho if we get them long term. So I don't want to see us playing a diamond. I don't think it suits us. But on Grealish, it's interesting. I think that Grealish will leave Villa this summer, and I think with United, they're almost in that situation where they're going to have to go and get him, or they're going to have to miss out, because at his age, what is he coming up for 25 or 25? If we don't get him now and he goes, say, Chelsea or Newcastle or wherever he's going to go, he'll sign a 3 or 4 year contract, maybe a 5-year contract. He'll stay there for 3 years. He'll be 28, 29, and we're not going to move for him then. So if United want Grealish, and they do like Grealish, if they want Grealish, they're going to have to do it now. But I just think, as I said before, the interest in Werner disappeared when we knew we were keeping Pogba, and I wonder if Grealish is the same, because if Pogba's staying, one, it's that lump of money. That money we got from Pogba would have gone on Werner and Grealish, I think. So if Pogba's staying, where's the money coming from Grealish? And where's the demand to go for Grealish, considering Mata's probably going to be here next year, Lingard and Pereira might be here next year, and then you've still got Bruno, Pogba, Fred, McTominay, Matic. You've got literally 9 players for 3 positions. I just don't see how we sign Grealish in the current situation. But there are some suggesting that we will. And he definitely will move this summer. And if Grealish does move this summer, where does he go? You look knackered, mate. It's lovely to see how you make so many sacrifices for us. Cheers, Mark. Love the work. I am tired because I won the Champions League last night on my FIFA career mode and had a few drinks. And I am a bit tired, but I always enjoy doing the 8 o'clock show. So thanks very much for that. Smash a like on the video if you're watching. We're nearly at 1,000 likes. And make sure you subscribe if you're new. Bottom right-hand corner. Grealish is an Everton kind of player, says Adona. I mean, look, somebody just said there, would you, you're in charge, would you take Grealish? Well, I'll flip it back. Situation then, we keep Mata, we keep Pereira, we keep Lingard, we keep Pogba, we've got Bruno, you've still got Matic, McTominay and Fred. That's 9 or 8 players. Do you sign Grealish for 50 million? If I could get rid of Pereira and Lingard, yes I would. But if we're going to keep all those players, it makes no sense. As much as I like him, it makes no sense. I would rather we got Bellingham. And I do like Grealish, but I do think that this was a signing because Pogba was going to go. But I do think the dilemma that United have got is that they want him, but it was all about whether they thought Pogba was going to go or not. Who do I prefer, Grealish or Bellingham? Bellingham's a jump into the unknown, but he's a midfielder. He can play CDM, and I think that's really important. Grealish might be a player to get now, knowing Pogba's going to go next summer as well. So there's lots of things. I mean, Paul Gray says right winger, CDM and striker, and I've always said that the CDM is the priority, even though it's not the priority this summer, but we do need a specialist CDM. And I don't know whether they see that Jude Bellingham could be that, or is he yet another box-to-box player? For the first time in years, we don't need to play makeshift players. Watching Young and Valencia at right back, left back, Herrera, McTominay at centre back, Rooney at centre midfielder, etc. was so frustrating. Credit to Wally for nailing that, says Joe and Daniel. I think there is still work to do, but I think it's amazing how the midfielders turned around. From Pogba, who was looking to leave, for Bruno, who we'd not bought. We looked at that midfield at the start of the season and we were like, that is too weak. And now you've suddenly got 5 players that you're struggling to drop one. So, yeah, it is an improvement. Run D. Emily says, I think Grealish flatters to deceive. Not as good as advertised. Would be far better getting Van der Beek. Well, I think Van der Beek is an interesting one. I think he will move. Sorry to spam Marks, Harrison Daniel. Do you think Greenwood is the reason why we aren't pursuing Werner? Maybe he sees him as a long-term clinical finisher who could bleed United. No, Harris, I don't think that's anything to do with it. I think if Ighalo had left at the end of the season, we would still need a striker of some description because it's about squad depth. It's about options. So I think if United want to pretend that they've not bought a striker because of Greenwood, it's a pretense because Mason Greenwood's so young and he will still get game time and he will still develop. But if Ighalo had left at the end of the season and Martial got injured at the start of the season, and you've got to play Mason Greenwood every game in the Champions League, hopefully, and the Premier League and the Carabao Cup, it's too much. You know, we did need another striker, and that's why they've kept Ighalo. And I think even long-term, Martial and Greenwood won't be enough. You still need another one, I think, especially when you play in a front three. Grealish is Pogba's long-term replacement as Racing Central. Yes, but will they do that? Will they do that? And football has always moved in cycles and we are about to take the upward curve again, starting with the next 9 games. New member, Mark. Great channel. Thank you, Neil Farmer. I hope you're right. I think it's getting very exciting about where we might be going as a football club. As I said, we started off the show by saying that United had a game behind closed doors today. Apparently it was 4-4 but Pogba played, Rashford played. I'm sure they're going to have a few behind closed doors game. I think Arsenal might have played West Ham today, I heard, as well. So we'll have to start playing some other games and building the fitness over the next couple of weeks. But it's so exciting to have it back. All I would say is this: please, players. I keep hearing about this. Not just, well, I'm not even going to say the club I'm hearing it about, but you keep hearing about footballers who are being tested with their club, and then in their own time they're getting in the car and they're going around seeing girls, they're going out seeing their mates. If they go and see somebody who's got this virus, that screws up the Premier League. Like, why can they just not act maturely? And this is the problem with some footballers. They just live in a bubble and they think they're the end of the world. They think they're it. And the reality is, please be careful, because so much work has gone into this. So much money has been spent. So many people have been through the mill because they didn't want it back and now they do want it back. Just act responsibly. It doesn't matter how great a player you're going to be. Doesn't matter what a superstar you think you're going to be. Act responsibly, because if you get the virus and take it into a football club, forget the Premier League coming back. They just seem to think they're invincible. And I'm not going to name clubs and I'm not going to name players. Ollie should self-analyse his decision-making at the end of last season in November, December this season. Under pressure, he kept changing his formation, says Naladri. And Mark, why do you keep going on about a striker? It's about reaching a Champions League spot. You know the situation. What's more important? Says Barry Durant. Don't understand what your point is, Barry. I don't understand what your point is there. I'm going on about a striker because we're talking about next season and United needed a striker. We've now got Ighalo till the middle of next season. What's that got to do with the next 9 games? We were never signing a striker for the final 9 games of the season, so I don't know what you're talking about, Barry. And about the diamond, I prefer 4-3-3. I just think Ollie will play it versus Spurs as he did last season when we won 1-0, and Ollie got lauded in the press for it, says Julie. He did well, as with the other thing. He does he does change his tactics a lot, Ollie. I think sometimes Ollie tries to change his tactics too much to try and prove he's a tactical genius. When actually, how often does Pep change his tactics? How often does Klopp change his tactics? Not very often. They play the same formation with little tweaks here and there. But Ollie will change a whole formation. He'll go back 5, he'll go diamond, he'll go 2 in the midfield. I think just find us a way of playing that's entertaining. That's all that any United manager needs to do. Can't wait for your live interview tomorrow. Superstar, says Dashin Singhvi. Yes, I'm on Instagram live tomorrow. If you check me out, I'm doing it with the supporters club from India at 2 o'clock. So looking forward to that. 2 o'clock UK time. Do you think Greenwood is the reason why we aren't pursuing? Yeah, I've read that one from Harrison Daniel. Okay. Well, as I said earlier, it's Saturday night film night for me. So I'm going to be watching the classic Western with Kurt Russell and Val Kilmer as Wyatt Earp and Doc Hollywood, Tombstone. Downloaded it off Prime in the midweek. Not seen it for ages. Absolute classic. Looking forward to that. And if you want any other recommendations that are classic films to go and watch, Heat with De Niro and Pacino, or Last of the Mohicans with Daniel Day-Lewis. Probably the best last 7 minutes of a film I've ever seen. Thanks everyone for watching. We'll be back in the morning with a live Man United news and transfer show. And tomorrow night we'll have Adam and Ricky and Saeed on as usual as we move closer to football back. Thanks everyone for watching. You're the stars of the show. Smash a like on the video. Subscribe if you're new. And a big thank you to all of you out over lockdown. You've been absolutely fantastic. And I know a lot of people have started watching again, which is great. Lots and lots of things to come, which is great and exciting to have our football back and our club back. Take care, stay alert, stay safe, and I'll see you tomorrow.